last time we began our journey, right? And we left Brandonsford to the west, but that path had not been taken by the dwarves that are said to live in the northwest for some time. Tharnlin claims to have a cousin there, but he hasn't seen him in like 90 years. And as you start trying to travel to the northwest, sure enough, there are all these goblin burrows. Like there's like goblin tribes that inhabit the hills. And then as you're trying to, you slay a group of them and you start to evade the larger group, then there's a manticore and it eats your horse. Poor old, what is the horse's name? Poor old, the farmer's horse, Farmer Gill's.
Was it a manticore or a griffin?
That's who it was.
The griffin, that's right. Seamus, poor old Seamus the mule. He'd lived through so much. He lived through a dragon attack. I mean, we don't know his fate. I guess there's that, but I mean, it's not looking good for Seamus right now.
Maybe feeding baby griffins, but yeah.
Yeah. And then, so you enslave a goblin. Let's be honest. And then
you put it that way.
and to evade the goblins in the hills, you travel to a lake where there's this like monster in the lake that has like this crazy janky head that like winds to its head like that, and this huge body in the lake. And
I have to interject on the slavery. We paid him very handsomely.
I mean, it worked out in the end. Yeah.
Did get paid very well.
And that's basically what happened. You were able to evade the thing in the lake, and you started going across the countryside, and of course the goblins weren't happy with you defeating some 12 or 15 or so of them, and a larger group of them, 3 or 4 times that magnitude, was sent across the countryside to put an end to your villainy, at least from their perspective. And you leave 750 gold in a treasure chest on the wagon you were pulling, carrying the rest of it. Most of you are now with treasure, I believe, which has also slowed you down a lot. And you leave the goblin as if he was triumphant over the human foes, and probably is now this great goblin hero. And you continue to the northwest and find the first settlement in the wilderness that's occupied by dozens of people in cloaks. They ambush you and bring you before their leader, who is an elven woman. And I believe this is what I have prepared today. So I hope this is what the goal is. I had the initial goal that you were trying to make it to the Dwarven settlement to the northwest, which you have since learned is the Dwarven settlement of Deggarhum. And in this Blackoak Castle, the Blackoak Ruins, I have you speaking with Cenarion the next day. So it's currently... let's see. You're down to 7 rations, but you don't have to... They'll feed you while you're here in the sanctuary. And I have that 6 days have passed. Including the recent night, so that it's now 7th of good month. And overnight, storms have come. Let's see. Oh, I should have got that artwork that you all posted. Oh well. That was so perfect.
Yeah, I just entered, what was it, Dark Oak, I can't remember.
It was so perfect.
Yeah, like that's what popped up.
Wow.
And I did that one by accident because I meant to the elf. She was by accident because I meant to put that in the scenery one, but didn't switch it over from portrait. So that was pretty cool.
Hmm. The weather is particularly foul today. Storms have moved in. You can feel that it's starting to get colder too, as the heart of autumn has come. And let's put some lights in here.
I don't remember us explicitly talking about striking out that way right away. I mean, that certainly is our overall goal. But if I'm misremembering, that's possible.
No, yeah, no. Actually, and I don't know if I remember last time you said that you had a lot of questions for this person, and she has a lot of questions for you. So, the sun barely. It's overcast the next day, and dark and rainy, cold and stormy. The rangers have ways to try to hide their firelight and not gain attention. But you have means of keeping warm, and they offer to feed you. There are all sorts of them, but most of these people here are mostly humans. You meet additional elves and, strangely, hobbits. Oh, crap.
Is it the one who disappeared? It'd be kind of awesome.
Who?
Not Squints, but the other one.
Knob? Knob's still with us, right? We got Knob and Squints left.
You've got Knob, Boulder Hill, and Squints, but Ned was sent on a fated mission to the Goblin Lair, and during the Dragon Advance has not been heard from, and he does not seem to be here. So when you awake in the morning, you have some food, dried meats and old bread, for now, at least in the storm. You don't have to mark off a ration. Well, what do you want to do in the Blackoak Ruins?
Helmer is just enjoying the time out of armor, off his feet, and a nice fire. So that's about it for him.
I'm going to also appreciate that and not have my armor, but still have my sword, and go and seek out, what was her name?
Cenarian, the ranger captain?
Yeah.
Okay, she's not hard to find. Does everyone else go with her? With you? Okay.
Yeah, Ben will follow.
Tharnlin, Knob, and Squints do not. So they Tharnlin looks around and says, "I'm going to find some dwarfs. Outside the dwarf settlement, there's got to be some dwarfs around here." And so he starts like asking around, talking to people about that. Knob and Squints find hobbits, who they start to ask, "By what means?" I was
gonna whisper to Knob or Squints, like, "Hey, see what's going on with these hobbits? They're cool, all right? Let me know."
Yeah. Okay. Cenarian is in a kind of makeshift command post with lieutenants. They're taking the time since it would be difficult to travel and patrol today, with her lieutenants to discuss their resources, the supplies that they have, and the different threats that they are facing. If you try to eavesdrop, you can roll a d6. But if you don't want to try to stay back and eavesdrop and simply want to approach, you can do that.
I
rolled
resist some eavesdropping.
I rolled a 1 on the eavesdropping.
Okay, let's see here.
Great,
think-
drop no leave, sir.
Listen is 1 out of 3 for Ben, so it looks like
Nice.
Yeah, and you said you didn't want to eavesdrop?
oh, Ben cannot resist some eavesdropping. So yeah,
Okay, all right. What did you get on the d6?
got a 1.
1. Okay. All right. Well, Edward, it's clear that they're talking about something called a mandate. You don't know what they're talking about, but it's a kind of general. They're called the Hill Rangers. They mention some of the nearby cities, Griff's Bluff, the Evening Lands in general, which you've since obviously surmised that's where you are. And there is this question brought up of whether or not the mandate should even continue, and some argument. Ben, you hear farther off as you approach that 2, 3, 4, 6. Actually, roll a d6 to see what you get as far as a rumor, and then meanwhile, Helmer, you're not eavesdropping.
No.
Okay, a 6. Okay.
You said something called a mandate?
Yeah, a mandate. And there's this question of whether or not it should be abandoned. And then
An order of what?
Hill Rangers.
Okay. Can I make a lore roll on the on those things? Mandate and the name of that order?
Yeah, I have to think, like, it has to be something where you would have had to have pieced all this together somehow or found it since you've gotten here, because there's no way that you would have heard about this in Perrinval. But I think that yeah, you can do that. Let's see here.
Well, I rolled a 2.
That passes, right?
It does.
Nice. Okay. Ben, a ways off as you approach, you hear that, and you hear Cenarian's gentle, sonorous voice say this, that I fear that a second war against the traitor and the Unman will return at the worst of times. What with the rising power in the ruins to the north. And then as far as what you probably would have pieced together, I think, okay, I have it. It has to do with the history of the Vale. That's what I'm going to lean on here, because that's something you have that some people here don't. So I get to do some lore dump because you rolled a lore die. The Vale. First of all, you know that it's a demi-plane, this sort of continental space, not existing exactly in a crystal sphere or planet per se, but in its own magical space separated from reality. That is where you are. This 5,000-mile stretch of continental space with a bowl and a sea in the center. Having been in the College of Lore, that the Vale has had these cycles of history it's gone through. And that probably most important, and as far as cycles of history, there's this prophecy of kingdoms, this rise and fall of kingdoms. And with the death of King Ardrith I, that is the fulfillment of the last prophecy, the last kingdom. And then there's supposed to be one more, like a fifth kingdom. Now, relevant to these people, you have started to realize, is the second kingdom, the second cycle of history, in what was called the Kingdom of Light. And it was a human-dominated kingdom that existed in the Northern Vale. And they marched against this power in the south, where Perrinval now sits at the time. And they were a order of... it was a sort of like I don't know what to call it, like a Arthurian kind of kingdom, with like knights and courts and stuff like that. Queens ruled it. And these lands are probably the fractured states of what used to exist from that time. So the Mandate. You surmise that the Mandate was probably established around that time, and Sir Brandon was a knight of the Old Kingdom, the Kingdom of Light.
Okay. That's good to know. Well then, this sword has plenty of significance for people, much more than it does for me.
I was really struggling because I was like, oh man, he would not know what this Mandate is, because like there's no connection between this and Perrinval. And then it occurred to me that being in the College of Lore, you studied the overall history, and that's something these people have been isolated from. So that's what I'm probably going to use the lore die for when you call on it.
Sounds perfect to me.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't have time to say all that to these guys, but I'll say the order.
This group of people, who are they? They're the Hill Rangers.
Okay. All right. And they're trying to reestablish something, or just preserve something, or
you don't know.
I guess I'll ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll approach. Shall we make our entrance?
Yeah. So while we're approaching, I'll be like, we're heading north, right? Is that where our route takes us? North?
I believe that was the idea.
Okay, let's go on. So I hadn't had a chance to share what I learned yet either, but because we're approaching, they're like, okay, good to know. All right, let's see if lead on. I'll let you do the talking.
Well, I appreciate your confidence.
Can't promise I won't butt in.
Please don't promise.
When you all approach them, you can see a table that's turned into a sort of makeshift, a tactical, what's it called, a terrain map, where they have gathered dust and sand and formed up what you can clearly see are hills down to the southeast and mountains crowning the far north, and then there are all these different little pieces of equipment, metal shards and doodads that apparently must represent forces and things. You can see this as you approach, and then Cenarion sees you and says, "Ah, our visitors. Hello again."
Good morning.
I suppose it could be.
Well, it's morning at least, right? I didn't lose that.
I think that this weather and its time is a portent from the stars. She takes her statement way too seriously. Like, good morning, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you?
Like, all right then. Okay, yeah, sure.
Well, what do you fear it? What do you fear it portends?
In our charge here, there are a great many things that we can see, some of which you have experienced. The rise of a dragon is especially troublesome as a sign. It means that the dark magics that once enthralled the human kingdoms here is at play. And the dwarven kingdom as well, of Kara Raz.
Well, the first people we came here to see, we were good omens. I fear we're a bad one for you. But hopefully, perhaps, we can turn it around. With the sword of Sir Brandon, after all.
The rangers, all of them humans here, men and women, turn and look at you with astonishment. And she says, yes, he bears the holy sword, the human sword of Sir Brandon. I know that it is a relic important to your people.
Well, it certainly comes in handy.
One of the humans has a long, bushy, blonde beard and a bald head, pulls his cloak back and is like, by what means have you come by that blade? And Cenarian, answers, because you've explained this several times. He says, it seems that human history repeats itself, and that blade has fell another dragon, now after these many centuries. And the blonde, bearded man is like, the knights of the old kingdom have said purge dragons from this place. Oh, I gotta get my other book. Got all kinds of lore stuff going on.
Well, it seems dragons can appear without ancestors.
Yep. I'm sure they did purge them, but the last one got purged by that guy.
Well, and
also I helped.
And some other help.
Our Hobbit friends, they helped. It was a community effort.
Yes, we see you have some hobbits here.
Yes, they'll be interested to know the fate of Brandonsford. We were worried and watchful as Hogsboon made his move on it.
Well, their fate is far from certain. Even though we saved them or helped them save themselves from a very evil immediate fate, their wall is destroyed. They need much help.
You hear muttering from the lieutenants.
If I understand correctly, before they need help, I think certainly before the next planting season. I'm not quite sure what their time. What was it? Before the winter? They need trade. They have. And then I realize there's a bunch of ears around. And I lean in and I say, a word just in your ear, my lady.
If you'll excuse me, our travelers, like us, they have seen much and traveled much, and so they also have their own discretions and secrets. And then she looks at you all, as we do. Please excuse us. And a group of about 7 different cloaked figures depart. And she says, this is as much secrecy that can be combined with safety in these places.
Yes, well, I was just going to say, they do have far too much gold to not be protected by any walls.
Oh
But they
man.
haven't. Well, you know,
Yeah, no,
I, I,
it didn't even
I
occur
guess
to me that it's like this, like
they're
don't-
just a ripe old pear waiting to be plucked.
oh my
Just,
gosh.
yeah. Sorry to remind the GM of it, but
No,
Oh
I
man,
mean,
some
the great thing about this game
roving
is,
bands of goblins.
yeah, if if a faction had gotten there and that element, if that variable had been there, I would have seen the same thing. I'd be like, oh dang, and then like it would have naturally happened anyway. So I'm not in charge here, so you don't have to worry about that. Anyways,
But anyway, yes. So they do need. I know you have much, I'm sure, to deal with, but if you have any means of communication or well, anyway, one of the reasons that we are on the road is to try and heal the road between here and the dwarves so that the people of Brandonsford can prosper again. They need the trade, and they have the gold to pay workmen and any other craftsmen that they may need, and they need a lot.
your quest is to reopen the trade roads to the northwest. With
In addition, well, that's our quest for Brandonsford. Our quest for the well, I look at really just Ben, and I say, Ben, I don't, you want to take it from here? I'm comfortable saying whatever Ben has no problem with.
Yeah, so I mean, we got to know those hobbits pretty good, so that is, of course, I mean, our current. It. Yeah, it's like now I got to remember what our main quest is. Yeah, you know the dwarves are. I mean, with you're being an elf, are there tensions between you and the dwarves? I mean, I hear my understanding is there's a problem with the dwarves to the north, like they're not trustworthy anymore. Because really, we kind of want to find out what their deal is for Brandonsford and the world.
Farrenball.
Yeah,
I can share what I know, or at least those things that I may be permitted to share. But a question first. What of the trade route to the east with Carn Bildar, past the Broken Dragon Shrine with the dwarves to the northeast?
Well, we don't.
that-
Go ahead.
Oh, I was like, do you know anything about that? Because I mean, that was I guess that was option number 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, of that we know nothing. We could only pick one road. And we chose this road because our good friend Tharnlin, his cousin Eddie, supposedly lives in that direction.
Despite the difficulties with the rise of the goblins again in the Evening Lands, the dwarves of Carn Bildar and of their border city south of there, the remnants of the Black Spine Mountain dwarves have maintained trade for decades with the hobbits of Brandonsford.
Well, no more.
Well, Brandonsford is truly imperiled then, and I'm afraid that I have only dark tidings to add to dark tidings. You see, it is part of our charge here to watch the mountain passes into the Wailing Hills. And you've already seen part of the trouble, but no trade has come from Degkarhum in nearly a century because of my kin and because of that griffin. In fact, my rangers are trained to travel these hills in just such a way to avoid the griffin. It hunts daily. It still kills some of my rangers. But anyone who tries to travel in this area is slain. And then there are the hordes upon hordes of goblins that fight among each other for their worship of the griffin, who they consider a god.
Where does this thing live?
It lives in the peaks of the westernmost edges of the Blackspine Mountains, past the foothills. That is to say, beyond the goblin enclaves. I know that my kin are involved in some way, and that has been our primary guardianship as these very passes for years. My rangers have tried to keep people safe. Oh, go ahead.
And so, do you think the elves are responsible for the griffin?
I think so, and that we come upon those things which I am bound not to share with you. We all have secrets, Edward. And so, there are some that I can't give. But I can say this. My people mean well. Their perspective is different than the humans of the Evening Lands. And they believe that it is important that the sites in the north be guarded. And they're not exactly wrong. I know that the way they go about it is wrong. But
Yes, well, we now have a dual responsibility and seemingly related responsibilities to discover a trade route for Brandonsford and to discover the fate of the dwarves for Perrinval. And both Brandonsford and Perrinval have the same reason: their walls need fixing. So,
you wish to... Other... Perrinval. What is this? What is Perrinval?
the city we hail from, to the south of here, my understanding.
I've not heard of any city named Perrinval to the south. It must be very far away. And in fact, you know now that since... and this is a big one, okay, so... you know, from that lore die, I think this is kind of some stuff that you're able to surmise, you know, about where you are and who these people are and stuff. This is thousands of miles to the north across the sea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe very far to the south of here.
Ah. Well, you are very well traveled indeed, then.
Seems so.
When you say the fate of the dwarves, then, are there no dwarves in Perrinval that can repair your walls?
The only dwarf remaining in Perrinval is the one who gave us our quest.
A single dwarf in Perrinval. Ah, what a strange fate. Well, it sounds as if you don't know then, so perhaps I can tell you some things of the fate of dwarves, for some of it is known to us. The first thing that you should know is there was a dwarven empire that once flourished with the Kingdom of Light here in the far north. It was called Keruraz in the dwarven tongue. That is the silver... what is the other... What is the word? Triumvirate?
I have
Concordant?
so.
Does Thornland know?
And Thornland's not here. But yeah, you could ask him that later.
Okay.
But Keruraz fell with the Kingdom of Light nearly 800 years ago. They shared a similar fate as the Kingdom of Light. Corruption, magic, things that they had fought throughout their history they succumbed to. Specifically, no one knows, but I can tell you this of the dwarves of of the Evening Lands. The Dwarven people are not what they once were, and the very lands of Kelra Raz to the north are a wasteland of undead and horrors now. The gates into the very city of Kelra Raz, it would be impossible to make it there by foot. And besides that, a human temple north of here faced some cataclysm ages ago also. And between those two things, there's a strange purple mist that lays in the valley north, far to the north of Deggarhum. And between those two things, the trade to the surviving dwarven communities was cut off from Deggarhum, and Deggarhum lived in isolation in a human city until eventually the dwarves, long-lived as they are, took over, and the humans left. And now the dwarves of Deggarhum live as many do in the Evening Lands, as humans, without dwarven artifice or magic, and they've lost the knowledge and ways of dwarves.
Well, that's a
Like
sad
everywhere
story.
I go, dwarves live like people. That's what it's like where I'm from. I come here. No dwarves know their history. Okay.
Yes, my people are long lived enough to know of what it was like with the kingdom of Kelra Raz. Dwarves possess a magic that others don't have. They can build things, walls, as you said, fortifications, siege weapons. There's a special sort of magic that only dwarves have. But the dwarves of the Evening Lands have forgot that, and they've lost it. There's something there in the ruins of Kelra Raz that has severed them from that legacy.
Well,
So whatever caused it may have caused them to lose that touch might have originated there?
Oh, there's no doubt that whatever thing happened to the kingdom of Kelra Raz to bring about its fall is what has severed the dwarven people from their heritage.
So I'm not sure if I like that idea. But it is, so in theory, if we were to go there and find out what the problem with the dwarves were there, then that might be a key to undoing. So, yeah. You know anybody that might be willing to help with that?
Well, certainly the dwarves would not be interested in helping with that. The dwarves are tied up in their own politics, especially human ones now. And as you said in your lands, dwarven communities are barely distinguishable from human ones. They live together. In fact, some of them don't even bear dwarven names. They refuse. Some of the old ways and practices of dwarves they don't keep. The most traditional dwarves are those in Carn Buldar, far to the northeast.
I look at Ben and I'm sorry. Let's see. What am I saying? Not Basha anymore.
Elmer.
Elmer?
Yeah.
Helmer. Right. Helmer should be easier than it is for some reason. Helmer. And I sigh deeply. I'm beginning to think we came the wrong way.
Was Helmer there for when we were discussing the two options?
No.
To go? Okay, drat. Out of character. There was the other direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think unless there's any other questions you have of us, my lady, or perhaps is there anything now that we're here that you need help with?
I'm not sure what my people are guarding, except just the passage to the north itself, but the purple mist and the restless dead should be enough for that. After all this time, it puzzles me. I don't know how they're doing it or why, how they're using and compelling that griffin to terrorize this area, and how they've gotten all the goblin tribes to worship it. I fear that if that was undone, it would be possible, I think. She strokes her face. It would be possible for Deggarhum to begin trade with Brandonsford, because it is true that in ages past they had such trade, and Deggarhum will benefit from that, because it is only 2 or 3 generations from now that the dwarves of Deggarhum will cease to exist.
So perhaps then we continue to Deggarhum and secure that agreement from them. Or will we be accosted on our way by this griffin again?
Oh, most certainly.
So
Although
actually,
there
You should
are
have poisoned the wheel.
there are other Oh wow, yeah. Oh man.
If only we thought to
Fix that
poison
real
our poor
fast.
mule before
Holy
it got
smokes,
taken away.
yeah. You could have put the sleep,
Another
got more of
mule.
the sleep stuff, fed it to the poor mule. Oh,
Not too late.
That's cruel, though. That you got to do what you got to do too. Okay, so she says there are even troubling problems to the west. I could have some rangers accompany you. It would be useful to us to gain the information of what has happened with Deggarhum and the village of Bromvendeur. I cannot send any elves, for what you say is true. The dwarves hate us. They believe that we eat them.
And you don't, right? You don't?
It is
don't eat them?
it is a complicated story that perhaps we don't have time to discuss, of what it is that my people are doing here and why, but it is a complicated thing. Not quite so black and white as eat or not eat.
That is,
so much like the parrot from my own home. But I won't hold it against you, my lady. You've been kind enough to us.
My people are fierce and like shadows. They can disappear, and they're swift. They use hounds, which are intelligent, and they can track you down and hunt you. You should be careful. And they master magic as well. And then, of course, there are the endless hordes of goblins in the hills. And yes, a griffin. If you choose to journey to Deggarhum, let me know, and I'll have some rangers that accompany you. And they may be able to assist you if you follow their instructions closely, and how to try to evade the griffin, and also directions to Deggarhum.
That sounds very useful.
If you wish to depart, however, we can also guide you some ways out of our lands, at least until you're not likely to encounter the griffin, and then we wish you well.
I think I need to discuss with my companions, my lady.
So
But we thank you so much for your time.
out of character, I want to note. Perhaps I don't have to, so I won't continue to note this. But none of this has an agenda. There are no hooks here. This is a world with a lot of problems in it. So it's
Oh, I understand.
okay. However,
yeah,
however you
that's
want to
why
tackle your problems is
Yeah, that's why we need to discuss. Yeah, we need to discuss.
Yeah.
man, I am deeply missing Bashar right now for in-character information and travel. But the dwarven caravan that we found relatively newly eaten, that wouldn't have come from this direction.
No.
These are the wrong dwarves. We definitely came in the wrong way.
Yeah. But didn't we find a caravan? Was it on this side of the river or the other side? Because wouldn't have been the... Well,
It was the western side of the river coming from. It was
Coming from the north, I mean,
Yeah,
roughly.
maybe where that the dragon's cave was, where we know some dwarves were delving, and one of them got corrupted into a dragon. It seems like.
Yeah. I
So
don't-
they may have been the last remnants of whatever caravan caused the dragon.
Yeah, like in character, Helmer kind of say like, "Hey, we're seeking dwarves. Sounds like there's not any this direction."
So
Well, there's Degarhum.
yeah, I cut out a little bit during that. My thing crashed in a little bit with it. Is there a reason nobody's tried hunting down this griffin? I mean, it's nasty and stuff. I mean, I don't know that we want to do it, but there's all these rangers and none of them thought, let's hunt this griffin down. Or is it like, yeah, I mean, I know that's easier said than done, but
They live in daily battle and struggle against this threat. Hundreds upon hundreds of goblins, elven hunters, and feyhounds, and a griffin they command.
that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty big note right there. That's
Yep.
It's up there.
Well-
My other thought. So, if something corrupted the dwarves, and it has something to do with these ruins to the north, and there's a rising power, just been a share, like just to give you guys a heads up, they before we came upon Cenarian, she was saying something about some traitor and a rising power in the ruins to the north. Sounds like our dwarf problem may be coming back, or whatever corrupted the dwarves. It's all related to that rising power in the ruins, which I don't know if we're up for handling right now, but that might also have to do with the mystery of what happened to the dwarves. But we don't have any dwarves that sounds like would be interested in finding that out, at least on this side. So if we were to go all the way backtrack and go to the other dwarves, maybe we could get them interested in an expedition to these dwarves if they're the ones on the other direction have some interest in dwarven history. Because it sounds like the dwarven history and mystery solving stuff might have to do with the ruins to the north. We just can't find dwarves that will give a darn over here because they're all too distracted with human problems.
Just have to find somebody who will. Yeah, no, that's good. Come back with a whole army.
All right. I'm certainly willing. Let's then perhaps we can get the Rangers' help in maybe cutting a leg off of the trip.
Yeah. But then we also have a chance of still possibly opening some trade with Gardoon or whatever. She seemed to say that was a potential option? Was that, or what would that take?
She said if the Griffin was removed, it would make trade possible.
Yeah.
Oh, and the goblins. But the goblins, I mean, the goblins are
getting
are
rid
made
of the
more
Griffin
fierce.
might help with the goblins because that's their god, and they might be less. Then at least we put it won't necessarily. I don't know if it would solve the problem 100%, but it might be a good, battle in the war against whatever these elves are doing to cause all these issues.
Well, it's not the elves. She said that they're just trying to protect artifacts from the past, protect sites of the north. And so she said that they did them. Perhaps she didn't agree with their methods, but that they have a good motivation. And if we could convince them that they don't need to, endanger lives and trade and to achieve that goal, or maybe we don't need to fight the thing. Maybe we can send it off somewhere else and into the mountains and where it belongs, and the goblins with it.
It could be.
Yeah, but
knowledge.
That means convincing the elves they should stop riling up goblins to kill everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds hard.
It does.
Everything sounds really difficult.
It does.
Elves might have information that we do not, and perhaps there's a terrible artifact or even creature lying in those ruins, and this may be the best way to prevent people from getting there.
Well, I'm entirely fine with ancient, terrible artifacts staying buried. But yes, but the main thing is we don't want. Maybe the correct angle is pity. If the elves have any pity for the poor hobbits, then perhaps there's even another solution we don't know that they do.
And that one elf we talked to, I have a feeling we're going to have a hard time getting along with the elves.
Which elf was that again?
He was...
Oh, right, yeah.
We did, like, he was the one, he had a couple of talking hounds that we killed one of them that he was friends with. And
I was not there. Sorry. Yes,
yeah.
I was laid up sick in bed for that.
Yeah, we did meet an elf, and I don't know. I get the feeling the elves are, because elves and the dwarves are not getting along. Or if we get dwarves to come over here to investigate their old dwarven ancestors, these elves are gonna do everything to fight us. Sounds like.
Yeah.
They're already riling up goblin hordes. They're willing to have goblins murder anybody who travels. It's going to be, if they're willing to rile up the goblin hordes, how willing are they going to be to back off?
We hadn't heard of any such problem on the road to the northeast, though. Correct. So it seems just west of the mountains is where this griffin is operating. So it may be, at least for the sake of Brandonsford, it may be the path of least resistance for now, and maybe in pursuit of the fate of the dwarves, we may have to come back this way. But I think we need to think of the lives of our poor little charges back there.
Could be if the trade were desirable enough, they could go around longer route. But
Do you have this council with Tharnlin, Knob, and Squints?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we'll...
Okay.
Yeah, because Knob isn't Knob at least, and Tharnlin are equals.
Okay.
In our eyes, I would think.
Tharnlin, the dwarf, he says, "Well, none of my people have heard of dwarves coming from the northeast, and well, nearly an age, almost 100 years, some 70, 80 years since I've seen my cousin from Degarhum. But we've had regular trade with Cross, the foothills, just south of the Black Spine Mountains. We had a winding trade route, and we'd guard our caravans against goblins and human bandits. We did that for decades. It was a prosperous trade. And of course, we would serve the pilgrims at the Broken Dragon Way Shrine. Most of us wouldn't travel to the human kingdoms to the south. Once we got into the city-states, some of those dwarves, they formed families and they settled down in Rebek. I've heard bad things of the dwarves there in Rebek.
Stop me if I'm wrong.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, Starlin, what do you have to say?
My question is this: no offense to you, it's like a Council of Elrond situation. Helmer, why isn't it that the humans would be helping? Why is it always the dwarves? Why the dwarves have to... obviously something has gone wrong. There's all these goblins. The humans are the ones with the armies. But with the fall of our empire and what the dwarves have done to hold off the Unmen since the war against the traitor. And now here what? The humans just won't be a helping, they be fighting with themselves instead of coming up to help the poor hobbits. And he actually gets mad at Helmer. Who's no politician, but the dwarf is certainly treating you like one right now.
Helmer, what's up?
Standing there stoically.
Well, Helmer, he's not wrong in a sense. Like, the humans are very preoccupied with fighting amongst themselves and all their little internal squabbles. The goblins have become troublesome, but it is a sort of thing out in the wilds to the north issue for the humans of Grifsvale and Rebek. And here you are in the wilds, amongst those people. Yeah.
There are a few of us who travel outside of the more focused view of the kingdoms. They have very little sight for anything other than themselves. It is a rather chaotic place. They can hardly take care of themselves up there. One kingdom rises, falls. Their kingdoms itself are very little help. It is the any kind of gestures towards Edward and Ben. It's the individuals who come and.
Is there not an individual, perhaps a wealthy merchant, that could be appealed to in the south for this purpose?
I'll drop 3 big names that Helmer would know of. Okay, because this is another option. Is you could also
leave the
travel
north
to the
their
human lands, or you could try to gain the support of humans and additional factions. Try to pull them in. But anyways, you've got. First of all, I'm talking big politics. So, frankly, these people are probably a bit out of your league, but this is like the big stuff. Okay, there are 2 major city-states in human lands. First of all, Rebek and Grifsville. They are on the verge of war with one another. In Rebek is this kind of like city of sin, but it's also the largest city. And perhaps the wealthiest, and the wealthiest noble house member, who might as well be they call her the autarch, is Countess Yestra. Countess Yestra is the Lady of House Rebek, where the city takes its name. And then you would also know of Grifsville. Where's my Grifsville?
What's the woman's name again?
Countess Yestra. Yestre.
Countess Yestra. Okay.
Oh, here it is. Then I need my Grifsville stuff for the Evening Lands. And then there's 2 important people that you would know about in Grifsville. Or I'm sorry, I keep saying Grifsville, but Grifsville's the area. It's Griff's Bluff. Griff's Bluff's the town. Griff's Bluff, opposite Rebek, is smaller, but having kind of inherited its religious heritage and stuff from the old Kingdom of Light, these are very religious people. At least they need to have a sense of propriety about it and appear as if they are, right? And Griff's Bluff is actually a very pious place, and is sort of the religious head of the Evening Lands for the Church of the Convocation of the Thrice Blessed. And the person of probably greatest importance there is kind of the real person that runs the church currently, and that is Sister Sister Greta of Griff's Bluff. The head kind of pontiff of the Evening Lands has recently been ousted, and Sister Greta has ran the church's affairs in his stead. And you have heard that she is a truly, genuine person and an effective leader, but there's also, rumors of, what's the word I'm looking for? That she may have had a tryst, that she may have, broken her vows. But that's a dirty rumor, that kind of, lizard people in government kind of rumor going around. So, and then lastly, a third person is March Lord Baron Edric Hillsborough. House Hillsborough is most powerful house in Grifsbluff. And he is kind of he is the head of government of Grifsbluff, the Martyr Lord. They never set aside their war titles from 200 years ago from the war against the traitor. Those are some human things. You would have like those are like the three big human things, the religious, and then two big city-states.
Well, I'm guessing Helmer really is not a fan of Rebek. There's Griff's Bluff to the south. They are two potential people, but they are beyond my reach. And Griff's Bluff is on the point of war with Rebek, a kind of degeneracy.
Tharnlin, he's like, see, the humans are so preoccupied with their own little squabbles. Ever since the war of the traitor, I tell you, if it weren't for the dwarves, you know...
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it seems as though the dwarves are involved with the human problems, and the elves are involved with their own problems, and we're the only ones involved with Brandonsford's problems at the moment. And so that's how we have to think. Which would be the best for Brandonsford, do you think? I'm beginning to think northeast, or rather northeast from here. But no, Tharnlin, you say the trade was always with Dagar whom? But who was it that they were trading with before? They had a relationship with somebody recently. They've been.
Well, yes.
They've been.
For my people, I come from Karnbudar, and of course there's the capital of the Dwarven peoples, Tharngaradrum, and don't you be saying that the dwarves are all... Excuse me. Oh crap.
Sacrificing, making the sacrifice, committing to the bit.
Don't you be saying that the dwarves are just hung up in human problems. I'll have you know that the truth of dwarves is that we stood with the humans in the war of the traitor against the Unmen, and Tharngaradrum holds the gates of the far east river against the Unmen of the scourge of mutants and chaos. And that's what the dwarves do. We protect these lands.
Well then, it sounds as though heading back is probably the best bet for now.
So how far is it to Dargold? We came all this way. I'd hate to just turn around and head straight back, but I mean, that makes the most sense. But there's a chance, if we were just planning to try and get a route with Dargold here or whatever, we'd have to then basically kill this griffin and hope the elves don't retaliate, and maybe that would open up trade. Or we could go all the way around and hope and figure out what the problem with your...
My understanding is...
to get Darlin's people to help out again.
My understanding is the griffin wouldn't threaten trade with Tharnlin's people.
No, I'm just saying maybe we should kill this griffin.
Well, I would... If that's our fate, then so be it.
But yeah.
But I don't think it's necessary to reestablish trade for Brandonsford, which I think needs to be our first priority. Because let's say we fail, we die, then Brandonsford dies.
Nah, but he's been smoking this pipe pensively and says, well, we're all the way out here. I never would have seen myself in this position. Working at the Matham house all those years. I gotta say that you're mighty fine, good, big people. That you're sacrificing so much just for little Brandonsford, and just for the sake of a few hundred hobbits. It seems like there's an awful lot of big concerns out here in what we used to call the Commonwealth. I've been talking to some of my people, and that's what they are. Over time, some hobbits have strayed outside of Brandonsford, and they've gathered here in time, keeping the secrets of the Rangers and keeping us safe. That group of goblins that came into Brandonsford, into the woods, the Rangers failed for the first time in ages, and they're not going to be the last. You're right, Edward. If we don't find some way to make a difference soon, Brandonsford is gone.
Yes. So then, Nob, you agree.
Well,
So I'll take it that you agree.
I'm not exactly keen on facing a griffin or anything, or armies of goblins, but also you're right too, Ben. It all sounds so hard.
Aren't there a lot of goblins the other direction too? I mean, when you found us at the Dragon Shrine, we had to get through quite a bit of goblins to get back to Brandonsford. Well, are we going to just find goblins in every direction?
They're a scourge, but not in the concentration I've seen in these hills, in the Wailing Hills. These goblins are organized under tribes.
That's what worries me. If we don't do something to at least disrupt these goblins, are we just gonna go all the way around, and then these goblins are the ones that are gathering and are gonna wipe out?
Here's the problem: if we scatter these goblins, one of the first places they're going to scatter to is straight to Brandonsford.
If you'll permit a modern convention, I think everybody can make a... Well, yeah. I'll leave it up to you all. You can, if you're not going to offend me if you're like, no, this is an old school game. We don't do that here, Ross. But I will also... I'll say you could do a wisdom check, too, because there is something that I think... There's something, too. Yes. It's up to you all, though.
No, Edward's not wise enough to do a wisdom check.
I can try one. I got a 50-50. I got a 10. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. Let's see.
Is this a roll under issue? Or?
Yeah.
He's thinking he's secretly a romantic, and he's thinking only in idealistic, heroic, dutiful terms.
Goodness, not that wise.
I succeeded.
You succeeded. Well, this is the funny thing. Helmer wouldn't know about this. Because he wasn't there.
He kind of goes, Strange, I had some kind of...
a hunch, but I'm just...
Okay, I rolled a nat 20.
Well, that's bad.
Wait, I thought we were
Yeah,
doing...
it's a roll under
critical
for
fail.
this. I rolled a 19, so I was like, well, great. Now I get a 19.
I'm just going to say it, actually, because I'm not trying to solve the problem, but this was forgotten, is you have a bunch of weird stuff. You have weird things.
Well, we've got a cutlass.
Daddy, I finally...
Yeah, that's all. I just wanted to point out that you got weird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, all I got is a weird cutlass, and I don't know. I had an old chalice that I think was just a chalice. It was worth a lot of money. That's the only things I got on my character sheet.
Got the ruby skull thing.
Oh, was that magic too? We didn't ever. Yeah,
I don't know if it's magic.
or it's just worth a lot of money.
Poor Ross.
No.
I just hate to go all this trouble all the way out here just to go, this is hard, let's turn around.
Yeah.
And go back to another place where we're going to find more possibly hard stuff, you know?
So if you ask a ranger, it's not very hard to obtain the information. Somebody was asking. Initially, I think somebody mentioned this or asked it, and they said it's about a week's journey to the north, but if you talk to a ranger, you know that if you travel with 2 or 3 rangers, which you would send with you, you could probably accomplish it in a couple of days of hard forced travel. And you would be exhausted when you got there, and you'd have to keep up with the rangers. The downside is that the rangers deal with the elves, with the feyhounds, the goblin armies, and the griffins every day of their lives. This is a threat they face every day, and that is going to be a threat. So you will face that if you travel out here in the Wailing Hills until you
Once
get
we get to the other side, we're trapped too.
Yeah, the rangers are not going to stay with you. Although, you could depart in short order. I mean, they'll spend a day or two there if they're permitted by the dwarves. And then...
I agree that it's a shame, but I don't count the trip as wasted. We've learned a lot about what's going on. We've learned the nature of the threat in this direction. And I don't think it's the last we've seen of this place, and we've certainly, I think, made a friend here with the Rangers. So we just, but I feel, there's something that compels my conscience against taking on too much danger, not for our own sake, but just for the sake of Brandonsford.
No, I'm with that. I think it adds another priority is to eventually get rid of solve this problem with this griffin and these goblin hordes. So I'm not sure if we're equipped to do it right now. It might mean if we get trade flowing with Brandonsford, where we could actually have people that might also be interested in opening trade in this direction. Right now we're just 3 guys who says, y'all should trade with these people. I don't know how effective that's going to be.
Well, we do know one person who took a cart away south, don't we?
A goblin?
No.
I'm sorry.
The silver serpent.
Ah, yeah, you do know somebody.
Oh yeah, he may not like us very much.
He may not like us very much, but he likes money.
This is true.
Anyway, perhaps that's just another iron in another fire.
Good point.
But he is known to us, and he is aware of Brandonsford's needs. And perhaps he'd be willing to deal on favorable terms.
So, let's...
But anyway...
Thornlund notes that he no doubt probably continued on to Rebek. That the hobbit you're speaking of.
It makes sense.
Okay, yes.
Seems like a fellow.
A Rebeki, yeah. Fridolin Evrard III. Okay.
Rebeki.
So, framing some options. Option 1 is, what if you, and if you come up with something else that's cool too, I'm just framing them here. Continue on, because you're about a 2.5 hard days journey out, but you still have the dangers nearby. At least to the dwarven settlements, which don't seem to be under any sort of direct threat. Perhaps out of the range of the griffin? I don't know what. But at least
on the other side of the Black Spine Mountains.
Well, the Black Spine Mountains are like this. They're like this, east to west deal, and then Brandonsford was maybe right here, and then you all went whoop, and you're right here. So the Black Spine Mountains are that way, anyways.
Right, yeah. But we know that the griffin operates out of the western edge of the...
Yeah, somewhere over there. That's right. And then the dwarven settlement's somewhere up there. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So then other options are, travel to human lands, and in fact, as you're discussing it, if you ask her, if you discuss not traveling to the north, that's exactly what she suggests. She suggests not traveling back through the Goblin lands, which she would say is nearly suicidal, and that it was a miracle that you made it. And instead diverting far to the southwest and traveling in the open open fields north of Griffsbluff until you made it either to Rebek or Griffsbluff.
No.
And then alternately, you could go back through the Goblin lands.
No, it's beginning now. It's beginning to sound as though the safest thing may be to go on, especially if we have the accompaniment of the Rangers, at least as far as the borders of what did you say? What was it? Dargnahun or
Dedgarhum.
Edgarhum.
Well, what do you guys think? What do you think, Steve?
I'm worried if we go over the mountains, there's not much way back. I think going back south is the better option, just based on helping Brandonsford. Like just set up that trade and then kind of take it from there. If we have to go through the human city, all we really have to do for that is just make it like a stop on the map. Quick in and out. Try not to listen to any rumors. Just kind of walk in there. Get out.
Did you hear the part where she said traveling across the open fields?
Yeah. So she was saying going around. But those open fields might be less dangerous than the ones immediately south to us.
Yeah.
But
okay, well.
Sounds like to help Brandonsford out, we kind of screwed ourselves over by going the hardest way to help them.
Yeah, we just went the wrong way.
We picked the other way that might have been easier to help them. We picked the way that is through goblin hordes that we're lucky we survived.
Took the wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah, which I'm still worried about those goblin hordes coming, in the long term. But I don't think we have a solution right now.
Okay.
I think that one's beyond our...
Well, then, I think we should trust her wisdom, then, if that's her suggestion.
Okay, what do you all think, Ben and Helmer?
Dude,
Well, you said...
I think it makes sense to go for the safe route. I can't help but feel like they're hiding something about the north from us, but...
I feel like there's more
There's
to
some
that.
like why they were talking like their whole reason the Rangers are here was almost to prevent something from the north from getting out. That's what the elves that are causing all these goblin hordes with the griffin, their whole deal is keeping stuff from the north from coming south. And she doesn't want us to go north for some reason, and it seems I mean, we might open up a can of worms we don't want to open if we go to the north. Maybe they're right to do all that. And if we go and delve around in the north to make trade with these, dwarves to open it up to Brandonsford, maybe that could backfire and cause some terrible shenanigans. And the elves are right to cause a goblin horde to prevent it. These rangers still seem like there's something hiding. But I'm also like... kind of, yeah.
Yeah. It feels like one of those scenarios where it's like, we have decided to go north and explore these abandoned cities, and then she just turns around and goes, I wish you hadn't said that. Open fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. All right, kill him.
Exactly.
So, yeah, okay.
She's the nice elf.
I think we'll let her know then of our decision.
Okay. The day begins to pass as you've taken the time to eat, discuss things, also to rest, which you all have not actually really gotten to do in like 3 weeks almost. And so resting, discussing, resting your feet, eating, and towards the end of the day, you gain her audience again, and you tell her that. She says, I'm sorry to hear that. Part of me had hoped that perhaps you could resolve the problems here, but, soon I'll be coming up on over 100 years that I've served, with the Hill Rangers here. And in that time, things have changed. It was almost that time now that when I started to serve and came here and left my peoples, that the war of the traitor among the unmen and the humans and dwarves happened to the east. But in those 100 years, some mysteries have never been solved. And here now in the past decades, we have just struggled to survive out here, in all honesty. Perhaps there's something in that sword that gives hope to these humans that could do it again.
Yes, I feel sure that you're right, my lady. It is only the thought of Brandonsford that causes us to turn aside for now.
Of course.
But it's clear that we need to know, for our own reasons as well, what happened to the dwarves. So I don't know that I can go as far as swearing we'll be back, but it is my intention to come back this way.
My rangers will do our part to harry them and block their travel anywhere near Brandonsford. With the loss of Hogsboon's tribe, there's a good chance they may not make it that way again for some time. Goblins are spurious and flighty, and they're not wont to take on more danger than they think they can handle. They're more opportunists than anything. But
well, we've hardened the people of Brandonsford somewhat, and they are not as easy a target as they once were, but the loss of the wall is significant.
She gazes off into the distance to the north, and she says, and besides goblins, I think there are things far worse than that we will all have to reckon with in time. I should advise that if you wish to come by or through these lands, that you travel west a ways through the Wailing Hills instead of through the Goblin Hills again. Good luck. And she says something in Elvish, nods to you.
Well, if you talk to any goblins, tell them whatever killed Hogsboon's still there. They should stay away.
Okay, do you all want to accomplish anything else in the Blackoak Ruins among the Rangers? She gifts you all with a week's worth of rations. Now you have a problem. You have no mount, and they do tell you that the Griffin loves mounts. That's one thing that it loves.
We learned that the hard way. Yeah.
So you're offered a week's worth of rations, but you also have a ton of treasure, but you're also on foot.
Oh.
Ben just looks wistfully at treasure, looks at food, like a treasure. He's like, oh man, that's so hard.
Well, we will be back, hopefully. Incentive to return. There's a whole horde.
How much physical space does this treasure take up?
Physical space that it takes up, I would say that spread among you, you get your hands on some large bags, probably a heavy bag each, because you have a bunch of treasure. Yeah. So you were already, if I recall correctly, with treasure, meaning encumbered.
Certainly after the incident with the goblins, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She says that she cannot guarantee its protection, but she will guarantee that no ranger will steal from you by their oaths. so that if it is kept here, its real danger is by goblin raids and martial threat.
Well, that is, I think, more than any of us could have honestly expected before yesterday, my lady.
Yeah. Guess we can leave our treasure. The thief doesn't like it, but
We'll take pocket money.
How much? I think you can have more than pocket money. I was just looking, and 7 days of iron rations is one thing. In real life, that would be a lot more weight. But I'll say it's just one thing, you know. So, Steve, what's the balance at for the group?
All right. So we've got 378 in gems. Now this is reduced from our unfortunate events. Nope, up here. There's 750 with Bashaw waiting. So we've got left the jewelry, the skull with the ruby eyes, the jeweled cutlass. Well, that one's not. Got that magic rope. The emerald ring, and 500 gold pieces separate. So 4,221 gold pieces.
Worth of things overall, or is that?
Well, that's the gold itself is for 4221. And then the other treasure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that you can basically carry about. You can carry the gems, totally, and you can spread that among each other, and it weighs hardly anything by doing that. And then probably about 1,000 gold pieces spread among you. That's 100 pounds, and then you just spread it among everybody, and all your food and supplies and everything. They also offer you any particular supplies that you want. They'll equip you with torches anyways. And you can purchase oil and lanterns from them if you want.
I'm still pretty well supplied from Brandonsford. We haven't had to use too much.
yeah.
You haven't traveled at
kept
night.
most of our flasks of oil and stuff, didn't we?
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I'll say, that you will not be with treasure, and you'll have that kind of standard load. Let's see here, from where it says whatever your armor is without treasure. If you take 1,000 gold with you all, plus the gems and the food and the supplies.
Seems fair.
That's spread among 6 people.
Okay.
1,000 gold's not nothing.
Okay. Plus I have you with armor, because you'd have to wear it. So your movement rate. I just had this last time. Adventuring. 110. Base movement rate divided by 5. So that's going to be that sucks. 3 miles a day? Yeah, heavy armor. Is that right? Really? Is that right, Steve?
That can't be right. Let's check that. With heavy armor? Because we're not with treasure, right?
Yeah, just without treasure, heavy armor, miles per day. A character with 120 would be able to do 24. That's divided by 5. So because you have one person in heavy armor and it's Squints, he could get rid of his heavy armor. And then you could travel, let's see. Wait, no, that's... I got this wrong. I'm sorry. Okay, it's not that bad. It's divided by, it'd be 12 miles a day. So wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Much more reasonable.
Jeez. Okay, so he gets to keep his armor. Okay. Well, you rest again for the night. Eventually, the storms abate, and then in the cool night, you gather up blankets provided for you. You sleep well, knowing you're probably the safest that you've been in a long time, and having gotten a breather and gotten to rest for the first time in over, 19 days or something like that. And the sun rises the next day, and apart from a misty morning, begins to burn it off in the heat of the next day. What do you do?
Depart.
Ready to go.
Okay. She offers to send with you 3 rangers, at least a day's travel to the south.
I bow and gratefully accept.
Okay.
So what do you think the chances of convincing the good people of Griff's Bluff, that was your devout city, that it'd be the good and right and religious thing to do to wipe out the goblin hordes and
miracles
Hey.
do indeed happen.
We got Brandon's sword.
That's right.
That could perhaps move some people to sympathy.
If any of the human places are likely to accept that, it would be them, I would think. Or be swayed by it.
I mean, if we're gonna get any trade to help Brandonsford, I say they're probably better than Rebek, who will just go and loot the halflings and leave them worse off. Sounds like.
The 2 rangers that are with you, there's 2 women.
We were promised 3.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Thought I said 2. There
2
is-
women and a dude.
There's 2 women and a dude. These are
Wondering
kind
if
of
she was
like
planning on.
just shy of middle age. One of them has 2 of them are dark skinned. One of them are fair skinned. The dark skinned man has a different colored eye. It looks like his face is scarred from something that happened in the past. They wear these I can't remember what they're called, shawl type things. I can't remember. And then on top of that, they have cloaks. And they offer you all cloaks, which are kind of an olive color. And they're like, it's important to try to blend in as much as you can, the man says.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Also, what got your eye? Mine was a rat.
It was the griffin, actually, for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's bigger than a rat. Also have one colored eye that's opposite.
Yeah, I remember that.
Helmer just kind of like sheepishly points at his. He says, "It just does that."
I am actually... whoop. Was that a cat accident?
No, that was I bumped the table. The thing is very tentatively hanging on top of the. I'm afraid I can't turn it around and show you, but.
He says, my name is Mishaw, and this is Celeste and Cleo, and I am actually one of the quartermasters of the Hill Rangers, and I have to say I don't approve of this expedition, but our captain, we obey her commands, so We'll do our best to keep you alive if you listen carefully. This is it's dangerous in these hills. The best that we can do is try to get you far enough away from the edge of the Black Spine Mountains so that the Griffin, the farther away we get, the safer we'll be. The first 2 days will be the most dangerous. And then he gets his stuff ready, and Celeste and Cleo are also getting their stuff ready, and they're like, we should depart at once and waste no time.
So be it.
You're a friendly one. Sounds good, though.
Yep.
Be fun at parties.
Let's see here. You have rangers, so you're not going to loot. You're not going to get lost, which is pretty cool. But there is a chance of monsters. Okay. You travel for the first day. Oh yeah, there's actually one other chance of something happening. One more thing. Nice. Okay. And let me make sure I'm not that close. Okay, we're not. Darkness falls, and you travel in open fields. Just gentle rolling hills. You can see mountains far off to your left, miles away, towering off toward the hills and things where the goblins were. Eventually you see a collection of hills to your right. And as you pass and night begins to fall, he's like, we should travel past that into the dark some ways. We should stay close together and travel even into the darkness. And I'm going to make one more check. Swamp, 3. Okay. And and then all of a sudden, in the dark, he raises his hand. All the rangers stop. They stop around you, and then he makes this motion for you to lower down in the dark.
Can Ben hear anything?
You can make a check for that and see if you hear something.
1 out of 6. Or 3
Are there
out of 6, I mean.
are there still hills off to our right?
Yeah,
At
I
this
failed.
point, they are kind of to your right rear. In the dark, you've passed by them. Okay, got a 5. All right. You sit in the darkness for a while, and then eventually you see off ahead of you these little lights bobbing in the dark.
Oh no.
And laughing and talking. And after some time, whoops, that's not what I want. An explosion. Nope.
A bigger explosion.
Goodness.
Making it worse.
After some time, these lights they begin to move off, and you hear the voices begin to eventually fade. And he gathers around, offers some blankets and cloaks, and he says we should stay close together for warmth. That was a group of bandits. There are worse things than goblins that are down in these hills, but nearly as stupid.
I see.
If you tomorrow will depart from you, you'll see a set of hills to your left and to your right. Stay close to the right hills to the west. Continue to travel south into the open fields until you see the waters of the. Oh, I need my big map of the Great West Road. The Rebek River. When you see the Great West Road and the Rebek River, find your way to one of the roads and it'll be kept safe. At least, unless the human cities have fallen.
Well, that's ominous.
Well, thank you.
Try to get some sleep. We will do the watches for the night. And I don't even expect you to do any kind of watches. They probably don't even trust you to do it.
Fine by me.
Yeah. All right. The sun rises. A ranger on watch. They wake you up early. The sun's still over the horizon. And they say, it's best to try to move while the dew is still wet on the ground. Stay close to the hills to the west. And move quickly. Travel in darkness if you can. Best of luck to you. Thrice blessed be with you always.
And
the same with
also
you.
With you, yeah.
Yeah, two of you are like, yeah.
and to thy spirit.
Elmer, yeah, proper. The proper clown.
Yeah, Ben and Edward have no idea. Neither does the Hobbit or the Dwarf.
Well, the thing is, it's strangely reminiscent of my actual
I know,
homeworld,
right?
and so
Well,
I
don't worry,
actually.
it's not. Okay, so just to be clear, it's not at all because it's polytheistic.
Right, but it would still it might even come to me without even thinking.
I've heard that said of like the Jedi one. May the Force be with you, and then
And also with you.
People will say that. It's funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, Helmer, you would know thrice blessed be with you is kind of a very formal one. Most people refer to the All-Father. That's sort of a favorite. You know, All-Father bless you, All-Father this and that, and so on. But he's kind of the favorite of the three, other than the Shadow Child and the Grass Mother. Anyways.
Gives the proper response.
Okay. They depart, scurrying over the ground with their olive cloaks into the brush. Quickly, you're not able to see them. They disappear from sight. What do you all do?
The immediate mental image that I got from that was a little disturbing because I just thought of them like actually like all four spider. Did they always do that?
Okay, so we'll keep to the foot of the hills, the western hills here, and move off in that direction.
Okay.
To the south. Now, does keeping to the foot of those hills take us southwest?
It'll keep you to the south. There's a chance. Let's see how you guys do. This is a hidden roll. Nice. 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 Okay. You travel, as he said, keeping the hills to your right, the western hills to your right. And you make it until the hills disappear behind you to your right rear. You're in the open fields now, these rolling grasslands for a long ways. You see no, and then darkness falls.
So we're looking for a river or some roads, is that right? No sign.
Yep, no sign. You've got the hills behind you to your right rear, and to your left or even further away, or like a line of hills. You think to your left front, way miles and miles off in the distance, you think you see sparse forest. But this is just like rolling grasslands with trees here and there. A scrub forest that stretches on for miles ahead of you.
So is it just starting to get dark, or is it actually dark?
It's dark.
Okay.
So you're saying there's a forest that starts ahead of us?
No, the forest is way off to your kind of
okay.
left, like miles upon
Yeah.
miles off to the left.
Right.
So we want to keep it to our left and keep heading south, right, until we find let's see a river or some roads in the distance, and maybe we can make for that.
Okay. Do you start a fire tonight?
No.
I think we don't. Let's. Hey guys, we got these cloaks. Huddle up.
Okay.
Elmer will take first watch.
Yeah, okay. I'll take second, I guess.
Yep. I'll take whenever. Knob and Squint's got a turn.
Let's see. So now it is. Let's see. Spent the next night. That's the 8th. The 9th, and now it's starting the 10th. 10th of good month. Okay. The sun rises. It's cold. It is hard to just to not have a fire. It was not a comfortable experience, but you're able to get some sleep. And I heard you say you're going to continue south. Nice. Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No. Oh no.
The Duff Man. Oh no.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, Helmer, roll a d6.
3.
3. Okay, and 4. You see, so you're traveling to the south, open fields. You've been traveling now for about 4 hours, and you see in a low valley near a small watercourse, crowded with shrubby briar and wild space just along a watercourse. You see 6 wild boar.
Sir.
Well,
Very dangerous.
yeah, let's not bother them.
Continue on. Okay. They leave you alone, and you leave them alone. And you, let's see, you continue on until night falls, and you think in the distance, you can see just as you're kind of like stopping maybe on a high ground, you can see, like if you were right here, you can see off in the distance what you think is a river valley, miles ahead. And is the plan to continue toward that?
Absolutely.
All right. That makes it, let's see, the 11th. And I gotta check 7th. Did you keep the gold on you to pay the elf?
Yes. Always. It was set aside a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
So
let me see.
if it wasn't discussed before, I will have certainly discussed it and said, "Sorry guys, would you mind carrying a few extra pounds?"
You are visited in your dreams. Let's see here. And once again, Edward, there's a slightly chubby female elf, human features, but with the elven ears. And she's like, I want my money.
Okay, take it.
Okay. Let's see. That was, how much was it?
1,500.
1,500 gold. Okay, so you hand her the 1,500 gold. It's like wherever you've kept it.
It's a dream. So just
It's just here.
Okay. And she's like, oh gosh, 3 weeks of your time. But this is it. It's 1,500 gold. Finally. Well, if you want to do any other business, you know where the people are at the tower.
Yes, it's kind of far away.
Oh, well, you know, I had fun having your hair fall out. If you ever want to visit my realm, there are some ways to get here, you know.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'm sure you've heard of me, Felsane, the greatest wizard of the Vale.
I rolled a 5 on my lore roll, so no.
So you actually have heard that the greatest wizard of the Vale is actually Theron the Great.
Oh, so did Theron die?
Oh God, that idiot! No, that is. He would be nothing if it weren't for me. I mean, what he did in the end was great, but oh gosh, ooh, if he weren't dead,
So he did die.
yeah, of course he died. He sacrificed himself like a dummy. Well, anyways, if you have any business in the domain of the Palace of Heart's Desire of Prismere, if you ever would like to come and see me, if you have something that you think might be valuable, or if you want to enter another bargain and one of your friends, you know, wants to get their life back or something like that, you have to enter one of the forests here in the Vale and have a really strong feeling, and then also get lost at the same time. Those 3 things have to happen.
Okay.
I'm not sure where you'll end up in Prismere, but you'll make your way to me if you do that.
Thank you.
Toodles! And then you wake up.
Well, that's done.
That's done. That is done.
Toodles.
Okay, and then I gotta roll some stuff. Let's see here. All right, nice. And then one last thing. Nice. Okay. You follow the terrain down into this river valley, and you find, from where you are, there is a road that parallels a river, and you can see smoke billowing up miles ahead from a very large city. You would know, Helmer, that this is Rebek that you found.
Okay. We want to keep going.
Do you want to... Which way do you go? So you have the road, you've got the river that parallels the road, and then grasslands to your left and behind you. And that's what you see from where you are.
Would Go ahead.
So that's Rebek, because Helmer can inform us, I guess, because I wouldn't know. It's like, so if that's Rebek, how far and in what direction is Lips Road or whatever? That's the place we think we'd rather go, right?
Yeah. Other place.
Is this the same river that passes by Brandonsford?
No. This is a different river valley. Miles to the south. Let's see, and that puts you on the 11th. So, okay.
It's like, I mean, if it's on the way, we might want to stop in the city just for a drink or something. But if it's going to make too much time to go to a better place, I say let's find a better route.
Yeah, I guess
How much-
basically you could depart the evening lands to the west, continuing on the road for weeks upon weeks as the road, the Old West Road continues out of the evening lands. Or you could travel on the road toward Rebek. That road has intersections that go off to Griff's Bluff. Or you could stay in the wilds and not go to Rebek at all. And, you know, head back the way you came or head west. Or east, sorry.
Fastest way to Griff's Bluff, please.
Fastest way to Christoffer.
Also, how much food do we have? Do we need to stop for supplies?
I've spent
I mean, I don't think
3
we got
rations.
a ways to
Today
go,
would be
but how
full.
far is it to Griff's Cliff, whatever? Do
So-
we need to restock before we go all that way?
I have that you all have 10 days of rations because you had 7 from iron rations
Okay.
that you picked up in the fort, and then 3 remaining, not including today, like what you eat
So,
today.
so how many days travel is it to Griff's Bluff?
Probably another day and a half or 2.
Okay, then we're fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Another night passes. In that case, you spend a night out in the wilds. Nice. Okay. And eventually, you intersect what is called the Rebek Road. And this Rebek Road turns into an east-west road that you know to be called the Pilgrim's Path, Helmer. The Pilgrim's Path is the main east-west road of the Evening Lands. And it's the one that passes through Griff's Bluff. All of the farmland and small hamlets that are outside of Griff's Bluff that are in its protection. And it's also the road that eventually leads to the Broken Dragon Shrine, the most holy site in the Evening Lands, which is where you all teleported in to, although Helmer would not know that. But let's see. All right. Your journey upon the road, I'm actually going to make one more check. Nope. Is uneventful, and you encounter no one along the road in your day-long journey. But night falls just as you arrive at Griff's Bluff. Now I have to switch. Here we go.
Would Helmer have passed through here on his way to the Dragon Shrine?
So, in the past, you mean? Like if you had traveled to the Dragon Shrine? Yeah, I think so. Yes. And in fact, this would be a very well-known place for you. I'm bringing up your town. Let's see here. Helmer of Westernell. Westernell would be one of the protected little hamlets and villages. This is not working. Give me a second. It would be like one of the little outlying villages outside of Griff's Bluff, which would be like the main town.
Okay.
And any kind of like nightly orders or... Well, that's creepy music. I don't want that. It's weird.
Oh no, something's happened.
You
Right?
said this town was nice?
Cameron?
Oh no, no one's here. What's going on?
Is it?
A place to stay, so I'll go. I'll lead the way to there, so we can rest in beds for a night, have a good supper and a good breakfast.
You want to
Get a good drink in this town.
You want to, yeah, so night falls as you pass through the gates. The guards here stop you and they say, what's your business in town?
Hey, we travel through on our way to Brandonsford. Then we stop here for the night.
Brandonsford, that's an odd destination. Very well. You'll want to head to the Lone Watchman Inn. Of course, you would already know this, the Lone Watchman Inn. Need to get my stuff up for this. Okay, and let me find that. Oh, that's not what I want.
Well, we know where Feldark is.
That's so weird. It's doing some kind of weird art thing. It's got a different. Well, I'll change that because that's not what I want. Oh my gosh. I'm having trouble with Foundry.
We're experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah, sorry. Plus we've went through like 3 or 4 different module things in the course of this one session. Just in journeying in places, which is fine. But it's slowed me down a little bit because they're not all in one book or anything.
Is that the tabletop equivalent of a meme folder where it's like, oh, I have something for this?
This is the Skyrim loading screen with the object, and it's like, did you know that in Griffsville, if you spoke to Bungle's oddities, that on a high moon, that he is actually a demon worshiper or something, you know?
Zooming in and out.
Yeah, you can zoom in and out and spin it around. Yeah. This is weird. Even the, I hope everything's okay. I guess I'll have to figure it out because there's, multiple, things going on here. What in the world? Sorry.
No worries.
That's so weird. Okay, let me see here. I'll have to try to get that fixed sometime. So in the meantime, it's just gonna have to be this and this or something. Okay, so You enter into the gates. There's a so Griff's Bluff is called that because it sits on a bluff, and it's got this fortress around it, and you can see these rugged buildings. There's a moot hall and some like castle-like structures as well, and otherwise not massive town. This is not huge. And you pass by a little garden, like a place that's like a gathering place, and there's even a little stone wall with a little pond that someone has put here near the gates. And this is like the city square, and you continue on past the city square. The guard tells you to go to the right, but you would know this. Along the outside of the palisade, you make it to the Lone Watchman Inn, and see here. You enter the Lone Watchman Inn, and is this a place that you probably wouldn't be known in these parts? I'll say you're not. Is that fair to say? You've been here.
Yeah, he'd been in and out, but he's not very well known or anything.
All right.
His armor is just like piecemeal, really. Like he's just getting started.
For the first time for you all in nearly a month, you have made it to a human tavern, complete with all of its comfort and size, and full-size things of ale and food. And
what's that? It's a pint.
the tavern keep. He's like, "Hello there, travelers. Step on up if you'd like some food or drink, or a room to stay for the night."
You don't free threat.
I do believe all of the above. Yep.
All right. Well, that'll just be a gold piece then, if you'd like to stay the night and have some food as well.
Right, that's a gold piece.
Everybody pays a gold piece.
Pay
right?
the man.
Yep.
Okay. Meanwhile,
Steve, are you still keeping track of the actual amount,
Yeah.
or do you want us to?
No, I've got.
Because we didn't actually do the math of splitting it between the five. Splitting it 5 ways, I think.
Let's see.
6 ways. 6 ways.
Divided by 6. So we each have 166 point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sixes divided by 7. So we roughly have that.
Okay.
all right.
You keep the difference. We'll let
Round up and you keep.
it'll be not exactly a tithe, but
The Lone Watchman Inn is a 2-story building. The bottom story reserved for eating and performances, of which there is a mild performance going on tonight. The second story has private rooms that are larger, and then many smaller economy rooms, if you will, for groups of pilgrims, many of whom have already gone to their rooms for the night. And the only person that you still see down in the common area eating and drinking is a man, and he's got this drawn, thin, weathered face. It's pale, and he's mostly bald with white hair and bushy eyebrows and big ears, and he has this his eyebrows are raised, and he's looking down into his drink, and you can see his hands are shaking, sitting by himself. And then, other than that, the barkeep comes by with your drinks and food, sits them down at the table, and says, "The name's Feldark Autumnbeard, by the way. What are your names? Where do you come from, travelers?"
Pleasure to meet you, Feldoc. I am Helmer, west now, out yonder.
Ah, indeed. Well, you're welcome here. You two, though, you four, you don't look from around here. A dwarf and a hobbit as well.
Oh yeah, we're not from around here. Some of us even farther than those guys. Name's Ratbite. Ratbite Ben. Call me whichever you want.
Well,
Thanks
I'll
for
just
the
stick with Ben
drink.
then. I wouldn't call my enemy by that name. Ha ha ha!
Oh, I'm no enemy, but yep.
And then
And I'm Edward.
after he laughs, he scowls. After he laughs, Edward, nice to meet you. And then he's like, now I know what you're thinking. The paintings on the walls. And you haven't even noticed them till now. You look around and they're, if you take a drink of the beer, it's kind of, meh, it's okay. And then also the paintings are kind of, meh, yeah, it's okay. And he's like, each of those paintings, 50 gold pieces. A steal, I know. But they're here for you. Let me know. Now, I'll head off, let you enjoy your food and a place to stay for the night. But I heard this one from Sister Greta. How do you make holy water? She told me. Do you know?
Leans in.
You boil the hell out of it! Ha ha! And he scowls and he walks off.
Using that.
The food's not that great, and the beer's not that great.
So this is where they send their travelers, huh?
This is
They want to make sure we don't find the good places. Keep them all to themselves. Then the worst beer and the worst jokes to this one.
Oh, jeez.
Well,
Looking at his beer and kind of swirling it a bit, I didn't stay here last time.
no, it's fine.
Um,
Suppose we need to find out who to go to for a solution to our problem in the morning.
Yep.
Which are we just...
What is our plan now that we're here? We're gonna
yeah, what
try
is the
and
plan? Yeah.
But we were just
Yeah.
passing through.
Well,
passing
this is
through
Rift's Bluff. We've
to
got to.
where we were gonna try and get people, find somebody who might be interested in trade with with Brandonsford, right? Maybe we convince them it's their holy duty. You said this was a devout place.
Well, it's also an excellent. It's an excellent income stream for the city, I would think.
Might be able to meet with somebody from Baron Edward Hillsborough. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll probably find the mercantile district and see if we can't. We're not going to be able to get to see the Baron himself, but I'm sure he's got follow up that chain of the command, meet somebody who can negotiate that. Because yeah, actually, Nob is here and he's the guy. So
It's true. We got the practically a dignitary. He's a mayor of Brandonsford. That's a big deal, right?
no,
Right.
Knob's like,
I don't know
"Oh,
if it's a big deal to anybody here, but it's a big deal to me. You're
listen,
a big deal, Knob.
To be honest, big guy, my kind hasn't really come and visited the human lands in a long time. I hardly know if they even think we exist. Some halflings travel down here, but it was never a part of what we called the Commonwealth, a collection of halfling shires.
I have to admit, and he kind of leans in, I am a bit remiss of bringing too much attention of the kingdoms to Brandonsford. They know it as the Dragon Shrine, but that's
We do have one of the a holy site. After all, you came to visit us, and sometimes pilgrims do that, but mostly pilgrims are always on the east-west road, They don't come up to see us. I know that from the Mathams. That's how I learned about the sword and about Sir Brandon and everything, and made it to the Broken Dragon Shrine myself.
We just need workmen to rebuild the wall. If we can find some experts, perhaps an engineer or someone, an enterprising type that has access to men who can do labor, we tell them that we are representatives, official representatives of the town, and we can give him a consideration now by way of deposit, and say there will be half waiting for him in Brandonsford when the job's done.
Okay, so let's. What I'll do is I'll go to one of the I guess the barracks or houses that I would be part of as in my order, and then go there, say hello to everybody as passing by again, but also just ask around, like, who could you make any recommendations on for masonry to rebuild a town outside of the or nearby the dragon shrine.
Okay. So you would then be visiting the Church of the Thrice Blessed. And then next session, maybe you want to try to see if you can gain an audience with Lord Hillsborough. Is that right?
If we need to, can he be trusted?
I'm not 100% sure that the hobbits really want that. Knob, do you want that kind of attention?
Oh, we've always wanted to live simple lives, but now those lives are threatened, and that seems to me the most important thing.
Also, they had it before, they just didn't know it. That was the whole key to the Silver Serpent, whatever that place was, the bank. Lord, what is his name? Yes. Anyway, he's gone to Rebic now, so...
Oh, that could cause problems, too. Okay, yeah.
Well, so perhaps... but in any case, they had the attention before of the big people, because I think I came to understand through his statements that they had concerns in more than one place. So they must be involved with human business somehow, if that's the case.
I think, you know what, the church may be our greatest hope in this, for it may be better if pilgrims will be passing through. It may be better if it's under the church's protection, and then we don't have to worry about the greed of other individuals.
We do have a holy relic, and we did slay a dragon, and maybe religious tourism is the answer for Brandonsford.
Yeah, because this is what I'm thinking is if they've got the shrine there and the house, right? People might. It'll be it's good. It's a good. People are passing through. It'd be better if it was coming through as a pilgrim site with the more attention from the church, as opposed to. I even in character, out of character. I don't trust getting the attention of any human merchants.
I think the church is our answer. That's why we picked this one over Rebic.
Yes.
Yeah,
and we're not talking about merchants per se, but workmen. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because I'm
we
thinking
need to convince the church that it's a position that they should support.
Yeah, like I'm thinking two ways. One, just to go there and say, like, hey, yeah, we're looking for workmen to fix this wall, but also because we want to set up trade with the dwarves. But if there was a route of trade through the humans, it might be worth talking to the church and saying, hey, if you've got pilgrims passing through, this is a great place for them to
I think
stop.
somehow we need to start a religious movement to convince the church that it's their religious duty to keep Brandonsford protected. And I'm willing to lie or do whatever we need to do to get that to happen.
I'm just saying, bring it up to their attention. Just be like, hey, you know,
if there's any pockets need
place has
picking that gets there, I'm willing to try it. I haven't used that skill yet.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is try to gain the audience of Sister Greta at the Church of the Thrice Blessed.
Not even sure it would have to go quite that high. Like it could. I'm just thinking like along the lines of, hey, there's a place here. Maybe.
I think we need a good story that a very important religious event has recently occurred in Brandonsford, and it kind of has. The sword. We're not from around here. The Allfather sent us or something. Brandonsford. I'm not from this world. You're not from the. Well, some of us aren't from this world. A dragon has appeared and been struck down in Brandonsford. The cycle's renewing. The church needs to protect this place.
Just the house of Sir Brandon is there. Like that would be a good pilgrimage site. It's
All right. Well, Chris, what do you think? Are we? Is that the goal for next time? Is to
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
take that approach. All right. Well, that's where we'll end the session for the night.